But the day that it arrives will be too late. But the day that it arrives will be too late to do what we can do today.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen Amma ba'd Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Well, dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, welcome back to this fantastic episode on the silsila Deeds of Destruction. And for those of you who are following this silsila, this program, as you know, we are trying to cover different actions or deeds that can actually destroy one and cause a lot of devastation in a person's life. And today as well, we have a very pertinent and important topic which is affecting so many people around the globe. And before we dive straight into the topic of discussion, please do make good intentions. Let us remember the wonderful hadith, Niyatul Mu'mini khayrum min amalihi. The intention of a believer is better than his action. So why delay? Make those good intentions today. Make them right now that I'm listening to the silsila of Madani Channel for the pleasure of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, for the pleasure of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then what I learn, I will try my best to act upon that and to share this with others. This is so important for us, that whatever knowledge we have, let us try to implement it, let us try to practice and act upon it for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the pleasure of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So our intentions must be pure, must be correct and clean as well. And share it with others, your family members, your spouse or your parents, your children, your siblings, your neighbors and fellow Muslims, others as well. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jalla, there are so many wonderful blessings for the recitation of Durood Pak or salawat or salutations upon the cause of creation, the cream of creation, the owner of Jannah, the knower of the unseen, the intercessor of the Ummah, our beloved Rasul Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wa Alihi Wasallam. Our Master Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, when the day of Thursday arrives, Allah Azza wa Jal sends angels who have papers made of silver and pens made of gold. They record those who recite Durood on me in abundance on the day of Thursday and the night of Friday. That is the night between Thursday and Friday. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Don't we also want to be privileged with these angels recording our names as well? We know what to do. Let us make a firm intention that instead of wasting our precious moments in this very short life, let's keep our tongues moist with the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, with the recitation of Quran Pak and Durood Pak. Let's recite together. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alright, dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, today we are going to be touching on the devastations of intoxicants, addictions of different kinds, inshallah Azza wa Jal, with some Quranic verses, ahadith as well, regarding the destruction and how do we refrain from this or get out of these bad habits and these addictions. But firstly, a thought-provoking parable I would like to relate to you. And this is mentioned in the world-famous and wonderful book called Ihya'ul Ulum. And of course, that is by His Eminence, our Master, our leader, Sayyidina Imam Muhammad bin Muhammad Ghazali Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayhi. And he writes therein that Sayyidina Muhammad bin Zakaria Ghalabi Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayhi has stated, one night I went to the Imam, Sayyidina ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, he wanted to return home after Maghrib Salah. So he performed his Maghrib Salah and he wants to go home. And as he's going, all of a sudden, a person who was intoxicated with some kind of intoxicant had appeared in front of him. And this person actually started to harass a lady and started to pull her arm. When this lady called out for help, the people, they gathered around to punish that individual. Having seen this, Sayyiduna Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi recognized who that young man was. That youngster who was drunk, who was intoxicated. He recognized him and he told the people, "O people, please leave my nephew alone." He then said, "Oh my nephew, please come with me." So this young man, he in that state of drunkenness, he still recognized his uncle, who was great Imam, Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi. He started to feel ashamed. So he went with him. And they reached the home of Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi. As soon as they went into the home, Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi told one of his servants that make him sleep in that certain room. And when he becomes sober, then don't allow him to leave, bring him to me. So that young man goes to sleep. And after some time, when he awakens, he is much sober and he wants to leave. So the servant says, "No, you cannot leave. This is the home of Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, your uncle. And he has told me that when you awaken, to bring you to him. And this is what happened. You were actually harassing a lady in that drunken state whilst you were intoxicated." And he said, when you sober, must bring him to him. So when this young man, he hears this, he starts to cry. And he feels so ashamed because now he's a little bit sober, he can think straight a little bit. He begins to cry, he's ashamed, but nevertheless, he goes to Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi. And when he appears in the court of Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, he is told that, "Young man, don't you feel ashamed of what you have done, what you are doing? You are drinking these intoxicants, these alcohols, and you are losing your respect. Don't you feel ashamed that you are from such a good family? Don't you know who your father is? Fear Allah Azza wa Jal." This is the message for you and I as well. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal and immediately stop this, what you are doing. So this young man, he lowered his head. Again he began to cry. Sincerely he began to cry. He raised his head and he said, I make a promise to Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal that the thing that I will be questioned for on the Day of Judgment, that is those intoxicants that he was consuming, that I will never consume any of it again from today. I will never ill-treat any lady, and I sincerely repent in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal. Sayyidina Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi told him to come closer to him. He kissed him on the forehead and he said, "My dear son, this is excellent that you have repented sincerely in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal." And thereafter, subhanallah Azza wa Jal, that same young man, he began attending the gatherings of Sayyidina Imam Ibn Aisha rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, and also wrote blessed hadith from him. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, it's never too late. If you have this problem, wherever you are in the world, if you are affected by this problem of intoxicants, alcoholism, drug abuse, or whatever kind of addiction out there, and you're listening to this message, or maybe you are not, but you know somebody, maybe a family member, maybe somebody who's close to you, a friend, or somebody in your society, it's never too late. As long as you are breathing, as long as you have energy in your body, you are living, you still have a chance. And this is the hope we need to give to somebody who has these different kinds of addictions, that it's not too late to return to Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. And we need to make our mindsets, we need to make that person who is addicted to the different kinds of addictions, whether it's drug abuse, the different kinds of drugs, or alcoholism, the different kinds of brands of alcohol and intoxicants out there. We need to make their mindset, and it's a gradual process that we need to make their mindset in some ways, which we are going to discuss now. Some Madani pearls of advice, firstly for myself and for you out there as well. See, we need to understand that these alcohols, these intoxicants, wine, brandy, or whatever name you want to give it, whatever category it is, whatever kind of drug it is, whether it is cocaine or it is hemp or so many different kinds, so many different names are out there. Whatever it is, we need to understand that if I take this, then I am disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. If I take this, I am disobeying Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And who am I obeying then? I am obeying my desires, my nafsul ammara, those base desires that urge one towards the fulfillment of evil things. I'm also obeying my open enemy, Aduwwum Mubin. Who is that? Shaitan, Satan, the cursed and humiliated one. He is there. He is a physical entity. He is there, though we cannot see him, but he's there. He's whispering. And he urges, he tries to influence us towards the disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. Also, we need to create this mindset that these things are prohibited, they are forbidden, they are haram, and they come with warnings and punishments as well. Am I capable of going through those punishments? And we're not talking about just being thrown in jail and spending time in jail where, okay, your freedom is lost. We're talking about more than this. In this world, in the grave, and in the hereafter. Who will help us? How will we escape? So many criminals today, they evade the law, or they escape from the authorities, they escape from the prisons and the jails, or they may bribe the officers, they may bribe those who are in charge. But on the Day of Judgment, who are we going to bribe? Where are we going to escape to? Allahu Akbar. We need to make this mindset that this thing, this intoxicant, this alcohol, this gambling, which is also can lead to addiction as well, these drugs, these clubs, these musics and dancings, this is forbidden. This is haram. It is prohibited. And there's punishment attached to it. And behind these so-called pleasures is the hellfire. Am I actually preparing myself for the hellfire? And furthermore, it is not just prohibited. Alcohol, the different types, they are also najas. Najas, do you know what it means? Impure, napak. How urine is impure. So similarly, alcohol also impure. Now can you imagine that person who's drinking the bottle, shooting it down? He's pumping and forcing impurity into his body. And you know, one of the disadvantages or destructions of this is that the evil jinn out there, they are attracted to those who are impure. And if you have impurity flowing in your body, therefore the scholars have mentioned that many of those who are drug addicts, many of those who are alcoholics, drunkards, or euphemistically as they call them, problem drinkers, they are affected by jinn. And this causes major problems in their own home. Besides the medical problems affecting their different organs, internally especially, the economical problems and social problems as well, and even more spiritual problems. It's just not worth it. There's too many problems against you. There's too many disadvantages. That so-called pleasure, that so-called stressing out doesn't help. The glorious Quran has mentioned, and listen carefully to this, in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 195. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Translation from Kanzul Iman. And do not fall into ruin with your own hands. Don't destroy yourself with your own hands. If you are holding that bottle and you're consuming that alcohol or wine or champagne or whatever it is, you're destroying yourself with your own hands. If you're taking those drugs, you're destroying yourself with your own hands. Allahu Akbar. Al-Mu'mineen, our beloved mother, Salama radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she has mentioned that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that he has forbidden everything that brings about intoxication and creates disturbances. Allahu Akbar. Furthermore, our merciful Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, anything, now listen to this, anything that causes intoxication when consumed in a high quantity is also forbidden and haram in a small quantity. Now, every problem drinker out there, every drunkard out there started off as a social drinker with a tot, that small glass, and then two, and a bigger glass, and before you know it, 1 bottle a day, 2 bottles a day, until the person is hooked and addicted. Even the drug addict, the drug dealers will try to prey on youngsters, especially those who have wealth or come from wealthy families. Maybe the first time they will offer it for free. This is part of their marketing, to trap you. They'll offer it for free. You'll take it, maybe you'll feel a kind of buzz, you'll feel a kind of, or people who take these things, they feel some kind of good sensations, some kind of so-called pleasure. The next time, they may get it for free, the second time, or at a discounted price. But once their body starts wanting that and craving for that feeling, they'll go back to the drug dealer and he's going to charge them. And these things are not cheap. What happens if that person doesn't come from a wealthy family, or if they do but they don't have access to large amounts of money? They would end up, and this is happening, they would end up stealing from their own homes, from their own parents. They would end up selling their own accessories, their clothing, their own personal items. Look how degraded this person becomes. We need to think with wisdom, with intellect. We need to understand what is happening. I mean, why must I degrade myself? Why must I lose my self-respect because of taking drugs and being labeled as a drug addict, or becoming an alcoholic and being labeled as that? People who are alcoholics or drug addicts or taking any kind of intoxicant, they don't have a good reputation in society. We all know that. Alright? Furthermore, our beloved Master sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, refrain from alcohol, as it is the key to every evil. Another narration, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam referred to alcohol and intoxicants as Ummul Khaba'ith, the mother of evils. Now think about it. Then how much of destruction? Look at the accidents that are happening. The major accidents where, so many people die, so many people get injured, so many innocent people or bystanders, they get injured. Why? Pedestrians even, because of negligence, a person who was drinking and driving. There's a slogan in many countries that don't drink and drive. In Islam, we would say, don't drink at all. Alcohol, don't drink at all. It is not worth it. That same person goes home and starts abusing his spouse or his kids, his parents. Why? Because of the drunken state, and most probably affected by a jinn. And who is he obeying? He is obeying Satan, the cursed one. And Satan wants this, for husband and wife to separate, for parents and kids for their relationship to be destroyed, for siblings, brothers and sisters to be at odds with each other. Because your society, your community is made up of families. And if shaitan can break the family unit, then you have a corrupted society. You have a society where there's no peace, no happiness, no harmony. Let's identify these things beforehand. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu has mentioned that the greatest Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said that he had cursed 10 people with regards to alcohol. The one who produces that alcohol, the manufacturer, the one who orders its production, the one who drinks it, the one who carries it and transports it, the one who orders to carry it, the one who serves it, the one who sells it, the person who consumes its price, the one who buys it, and the one for whom it is bought. Allahu Akbar. So many people are affected just by that one bottle of alcohol that they are cursed. Allahu Akbar. Allah will protect us against this. And we need to think clearly that it is truly not worth it. Why do people turn to the bottle, turn to drugs? Several reasons. And one main factor, according to researchers, is because of influence. Bad company, bad association. That if the friends are taking those drugs, or if the friends are drinking alcohol, and if you're with them, no matter how strong-willed you are, that no, I won't do as they are doing, these are my friends, I'll just join them in the clean fun. One day, someday, that's going to affect you. In fact, even if you never include yourself with what they are doing, you will be labeled. You will be labeled as, oh, that bunch of bad youngsters, they're drug addicts. And your name will be there as well. What kind of, disrepute is this to yourself? So don't label yourself. Don't allow people to label you by being in bad places, with bad people. You know who's your true friend? Let me tell you. Our honorable scholars have mentioned, your true friend, you need to take this seriously and think about it. Is my friend encouraging me towards the pleasure and obedience of Allah Azza wa Jalla and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Is my friend motivating me towards the performance of my 5 daily salahs, towards the recitation of the glorious Quran, towards the recitation of dhikrullah and salawat and durood-e-pak? Is my friend inculcating in me respect for authority, respect for my parents, for my teachers, for my siblings, for my spouse, for my children, for myself? Is my friend helping me on this path towards paradise or not? If the answer is yes, then stick with that friend. If he has a good akhlaq, a good character, and he's a practicing pious Muslim, and for Islamic sisters, if that Islamic sister is a practicing pious Muslimah, stick with them. Because we need somebody like that, especially in today's era of fitna, of corruption, mischief, confusion. It's happening all around. But if the answer is no, be sincere and honest to yourself. If the answer is no, then really, our scholars mention that cut your losses. Cut your losses. That person is no friend of yours, truly no friend. And you will realize this especially on the Day of Judgment, when that same friend is holding your hand, and maybe not literally, but because of their influence or encouragement or motivation, just by being with them and being included in their actions. If that friend is holding your hand and taking you towards the casinos and gambling dens, towards the clubs and music and dancing, towards alcohol and drugs, that person is actually your enemy. This is the reality. Whether a person likes it or not, that person is your enemy. So one of the main factors of why people get trapped in alcoholism and drug abuse is because of bad company. Another is unemployment. Others can be poverty, or there's problems in the home. Other reasons are that a person has too much of wealth and doesn't know what to do with it. And you see this. So many famous personalities out there, that there's so much of wealth. Really there is. There's access to so much. And they buy whatever they need, whatever they want, whatever they wish, whatever they desire. They've got it. They bought it. What comes next? There's still no fulfillment, because there's no spirituality in their life. There's no happiness. And end of the day, each and every person out there, myself, yourself included, whether Muslim or not, wants happiness. This is what a person ultimately wants. And because these people who are rich and famous, many of them, you would find out that they are involved in drugs and alcohol and criminal activities. They are in jail, or many of them commit suicide as well. Or a person may not be aware of the consequences of taking that alcohol or those drugs. Furthermore, we need to understand, suicide is no solution. A person may contemplate and think about committing suicide. Why? Because of the family problems, because of problems with the spouse or work tension. Tension is always going to be there. Let's face it. The stress of life, tension of life, pressures, worries, sadness, grief, this is part and parcel of life. It's going to be there. Everybody is affected in some way, maybe in a big way or a little way. But we need to understand, my life here is temporary. If a person ends his life and commits suicide, maybe they would feel, if I do this, and if you have the suicidal thoughts, or you know somebody, then advise them. If you think it's going to be a solution to your problem, listen to this. That maybe you will end the worldly tensions and stress and pressure and anxiety and worry and depression and all the negative factors that are pushing you towards thinking like this. Yes, shaitan is behind also influencing and flaming that fire. But if you take your life, what happens thereafter? Do you know? It is mentioned in a summary of a narration that the person who commits suicide, then in the grave, that person will continue punishing themselves with the tool with which he killed himself till the day of judgment. Can you bear that? Can you truly bear that? I mean, what kind of heartache you have left for your family members that you've taken your life. If you were a parent, you haven't thought about your spouse or your children. If you were a child, then you would not have thought about your parents and others who love you. Think about this. It's truly not worth it that the person will continue harming and punishing themselves in the grave with that tool, in the manner in which they had committed the suicide. So the worldly tension is over, but the bigger problems and tensions have just begun for that person who committed suicide. So if you are contemplating suicide, or you know somebody, advise them that you're gonna dig your hole and fall into it, and nobody's gonna help you, nobody's gonna save you, nobody can give you counseling or try to motivate you away from this after you have done it. Allah will protect us. Furthermore, remember, a person will be resurrected on the day of judgment in the manner that he had died. So people will know that this person, how he died, in which condition. Allah, and one dua we should make always: oh Allah, protect our iman. Give us a good shaheed death with iman in the beautiful city of Madinatul Munawwara. Grant us burial in Jannatul Baqi. Grant us the neighborhood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannatul Firdaus. And we should make the dua: oh Allah, grant us a good maut, a good death, whilst we are reciting Quran-e-Pak or Durood-e-Pak, whilst we are reciting the Kalima Sharif. And in this manner, O Allah, remove our souls from our bodies. And a little homework for you: Mother of Evils. You can obtain this from Maktabatul Madina or download for free from dawoodislami.net. It is very informative. Visit Ta'aweedat al-Tariya for a ta'aweed, for some ilaj and for some treatment if you have this problem or you know somebody, and Allah Azza wa Jal will make it easy by His will, inshallah Azza wa Jal. And until next time, keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
But the day that it arrives will be too late. But the day that it arrives will be too late to do what we can do today.